Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the Unitarian Congregation of Mendon and Uxbridge with Reverend Patricia Hatch. My name is Matthew Marion, and today I'm going to start off today's service with the prayer, originally championed by Andre Bocelli and Celine Dion. Thank you.
Good morning, and welcome again to the Unitarian Congregation of Mendon and Uxbridge. It is good to be with you here today, those of you who are able to be here in person, and those of you who are viewing online. Welcome. Our opening words are by Tim Haley. Amid all the noise in our lives, we take this moment to sit in silence, to give thanks for another day, to give thanks for all those in our lives who have brought us sunshine and warmth and love, to give thanks for the gift of life. We know we are on a pilgrimage here, but for a brief moment in time. Let us open ourselves here, now, to the process of becoming more whole, of living more fully, of giving and forgiving more freely, of understanding more completely the meaning of our lives here on earth. The chalice lighting words are by Marjorie Montgomery. Life is a gift for which we are grateful. We gather in community to celebrate the glories and mysteries of this great gift. Please join me in the unison affirmation of this congregation. Love is the spirit of this church, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. We will have candles for joys and concerns at the end of the service. At that time, those who are present will be invited to come forward and light their own candle if there's something you would like to share. And those folks that are viewing online are invited to write in their joy or concern or milestone on the live stream chat or in the contact form of the webpage, and we will light a candle for those things as well. Please join us in singing hymn number 347. You may rise in body or spirit if you're here, and this hymn is Gather the Spirit, number 347. You may be seated. I will now read part of the Mother's Day Proclamation by Julia Ward Howe. I just wanted to note that the story and the reading have been switched in the printed order of service. So we will have the reading now, and then we will have the story right before the sermon. Today is Mother's Day, and the origins of this holiday go back to 1870. Julia Ward Howe established a Mother's Peace Day. Howe dedicated the celebration to the eradication of war, and here is an excerpt of her proclamation. Arise, all women who have hearts, whether your baptism be that of water or of tears. Say firmly, we will not have great questions decided by irrelevant agencies. Our husbands shall not come to us, reeking with carnage, for applause. Our sons shall not be taken from us to unlearn all that we have been able to teach them of charity, mercy, and patience. We women of one country will be too tender to those of another country to allow our sons to be trained to injure theirs. From the bosom of the devastated earth, a voice goes up with our own. It says, disarm, disarm. The sword is not the balance of justice. Blood does not wipe out dishonor, nor does violence indicate possession. As men have often forsaken the plow and anvil at the summons of war, let women now leave all that may be left of home for a great and earnest day of council. Let them meet first as women to bewail and commemorate the dead. Let them then solemnly take counsel with each other as to the means whereby the great human family can live in peace, each learning after her own time the sacred impress, not of Caesar, but of God. Those were Julia's words. This holiday was originally a peace day. It wasn't all about mothers being taken out to lunch and being given flowers and being celebrated. I know Mother's Day is a complicated day for many people for many reasons, but for those to whom it applies, happy Mother's Day. It is now the time we ask for the offering in the service. This congregation exists through the generosity of its members, through contributions of time, talent, and treasure. Please be as generous as you are able. And I also wanted to note that there are pledge cards in the basket, so the pledge letter has gone out via email this week and is going out via hard copy. But if you'd like a paper copy of the pledge card, you can get one of those from the basket as it's passed around. And we thank you for your generosity, those who give of their time and of their talent and of their treasure and of the greatest gift of all, their presence. Thank you.
Today's offertory piece will be Moon Dance by Van Morrison.
Thank you, Matt. It's nice to see people moving to the music. I'd now like to invite you to join in a time of meditation. We're going to switch gears a little bit and be a little bit more quiet right now. This meditation will have 3 parts. We will read responsively number 505 in the hymnal, which is a reading by Thich Nhat Hanh. So I will read the first stanza, and I invite us all to read the second stanza together. And again, the same for the third, fourth, and fifth stanzas. So you'll read the second and the fourth stanzas. And I believe that's going to be in the live stream chat as well. Yeah, so you can read it at home as well. And after this reading, I will play my singing bowl, and then Matt will play Spirit of Life. So let us just take a breath or two together before we start. Reading by Thich Nhat Hanh. Let us be at peace with our bodies and our minds. Let us return to ourselves and become holy ourselves. Let us be aware of the source of being, common to us all and to all living things. Evoking the presence of the great compassion, let us fill our hearts with our own compassion towards ourselves and towards all living beings. Let us pray that we ourselves cease to be the cause of suffering to each other. With humility, with awareness of the existence of life and of the sufferings that are going on around us, let us practice the establishment of peace in our hearts and on earth. And let everyone say amen. Amen. Today's singing bowl is for peace. Peace in our hearts, peace in our families, peace in our communities, peace in our country, peace in our world, and in all creation. Starting with peace in our hearts. Peace. Today's story is called The Fisherman's Dream, source unknown. A fisherman once sat out in the midday sun, gazing out to sea, watching his little fishing boat riding at anchor. He thought to himself how good it was to sit in the sun with no worries, to watch the waves breaking, and to enjoy the beautiful creation. However, he was interrupted when a smartly dressed businessman came up to him and broke into his daydream with a sharp question. "What are you doing lazing around at midday? Why aren't you out fishing?" Somewhat taken aback, the fisherman replied, "I've already done my day's fishing. I've taken my fish to market, and now I'm relaxing in the sun." "But why don't you put out to sea again and catch some more fish?" the businessman asked. "Why would I want to do that?" asked the fisherman politely. "Well, then you would make twice as much money." "And why would I want to do that?" "Well, then you could buy an even bigger boat and catch even more fish. You could even employ other people to do the fishing. My word, you could own a whole fleet of fishing boats if you weren't so lazy." "Why would I want to do that?" "Well, if you owned your whole fleet of boats, your own fleet, and you employed other people to do the fishing, then you would have as much money as you could ever dream of." "Why would I want that?" "Well," the businessman continued, "then you could spend the rest of your life just doing whatever you wanted to do, sitting in the sun, relaxing, and enjoying yourself with no worries." This sermon is called The Ripples of Generosity. When we give of our time, our talent, and our treasure joyfully, we can inspire others to do the same. The ripples of generosity keep getting bigger. Giving in freedom is part of what generosity means. People choose to do generous acts. People choose to give of their time and energy to others. People choose to donate money. No one thinks the one who just pays their taxes and pays their bills is an especially generous person. It is free giving that marks generosity. The awareness of having more than enough and enough to share starts in our hearts and continues on with our grateful and generous actions. One time when my children were small, we were at a big outdoor event where a huge crowd had gathered to attend and listen to the speakers. And my older son fell into a ditch as we were walking to the event from the shuttle. He was not injured, but something apparently bit him, and he started breaking out in hives. And the hives got worse and worse, and he started developing a severe allergic reaction. And we never knew what bit him, what he touched. And I knew that for such a reaction, Benadryl would be the most helpful thing I knew of, and I didn't have any with me. But I was with this huge crowd of people, strangers to me, and I did the only thing that occurred to me in this crisis. I overcame my shyness and yelled out loudly into the crowd, "Does anyone have any Benadryl?" After a few moments, sure enough, someone did come forward with Benadryl, and someone else called the paramedics for us. We went to a more secluded place by the road to wait for the paramedics. And some people, strangers, stayed with me while the paramedics evaluated my son. And a few of those people stayed with us the entire time as we waited and as the paramedics came. It took a while, and those people missed the main event that they had come a long way to attend. I told these people they didn't need to stay, but they wouldn't hear of leaving my children and I in this time of our need. Such generosity, like I said, some of them had come from a long way, and they missed what they had come for, simply to help a young family who had an unexpected challenge. Reverend Michael Hall says, "Too often we turn in weariness and worry to things that we lack rather than the many things we have. This way of thinking, fear-based and forlorn, leads people, communities, countries even, away from generosity to greed, from thanksgiving to jealousy, from celebration to isolation." Generosity and gratitude both flow from an awareness of abundance. It is difficult to be generous when we're afraid we won't have enough for our own needs. The first step on the generous journey is to be aware of all the abundance around us. For example, the natural world around us is incredibly abundant. When we are aware that we have an abundance, or at least more than enough, at least in some areas of our lives, we can choose to be generous. Here's a story from Marilyn Robinson about generosity. Marilyn wrote, "One summer while I was at college, I worked for one day as a waitress in a restaurant in my hometown. And I spilled just the tiniest bit of soup into the lap of a well-dressed man. I was sent forthwith to the kitchen and spent the rest of that somber day washing lettuces. There was another waitress there, a shy older woman, a lifelong waitress, I suspect. She appeared to have lived a very hard life. She was serious, efficient, and probably tired of all the heavy work day after day. This woman felt, for some reason, that I had been treated unjustly and brooded on this thought till her shift was over. Then she came to me in the kitchen, and she scooped handfuls of money out of her own apron pockets and spilled it out like jewels upon the table in front of me. And she gave me a look of fierce satisfaction. She would make things right, bearing all the cost herself. I remember that money spilling from her hands, a magnificent gesture made manifest in all those dollars and quarters and dimes, the value they had for her, the gift to set things right for me. Perhaps when she was rebuked or treated unfairly, I suppose she had no other choice but to take it. Perhaps she put together the difficulties and disappointments of her own experience, the thought of what a beautiful thing her act of justice and generosity would be for me. How she could fix this injustice for me. Has everyone been able to hear the story so far? Should I start the story again? Okay. Thank you. So I'll just read the last two sentences again. Perhaps when this other waitress was rebuked or treated unfairly, I suppose she had no choice but to take it. Perhaps she put together from the difficulties and disappointments of her experience the thought of what a beautiful thing her act of justice and generosity would be for me, how she could fix this injustice. I could not take her money. And I could see that my refusal of it hurt her. I don't know what story she had been telling herself all those hours that made her angry for my sake. Her gift took me by surprise. Of course I could not take her money. Even all these years later, when the memory of her angry, joyful look is still so vivid in my mind, that look she gave me as she threw her small weight against the arbitrary powers of her world. Even now, I don't know what I should have done. Even though I did not accept her gift, I will never, ever forget her fierce generosity. This story reminds me of the Bible story of the widow who gave her two small coins, her only 2 small coins, to the temple treasury. That widow gave all that she had. The widow and the waitress knew more about generosity than CEOs of big businesses who may give away thousands of dollars. The waitress and the widow knew the freedom of giving sacrificially, generously, freely, for the sake of a cause they believed in. Being generous helps us, too. Researchers from the University of British Columbia and Harvard Business School conducted studies that revealed a connection between generosity and happiness. In one experiment, the researchers gave participants a $5 bill or a $20 bill, asking them to spend the money that day by 5 p.m. Half the participants were instructed to spend the money on themselves, and the other half were assigned to spend the money on others. Participants who spent this bonus money on others reported feeling happier at the end of the day than those who spent the money on themselves. Other studies confirmed that individuals report significantly higher happiness if they spend money pro-socially, that is, on gifts for others or charitable donations, rather than spending on themselves, regardless of what their income level is. Maybe money can buy happiness if we spend it on others. While we all want to be happy, it also appears that happiness is related to being connected, while scarcity thinking leaves us feeling isolated and alone. Generosity makes us more aware of and feeling connection to others, and even the interdependent web of all existence, our 7th Unitarian Universalist principle. Generosity is something that connects people. And as I noted before, generosity is often an act of freedom, maybe sometimes even a casting off of some amount of prudence. In this way, generosity can even be an act of courage. Generosity starts with an abundance mindset. And if we can't manage an all-out abundance mindset, maybe we can realize areas where we have a sufficiency and a little bit more. And we can start there. How can we be generous? The reason I chose this topic to preach on today is because this congregation's annual pledge drive is happening right now. Perhaps you have or will receive an email pledge letter or hard copy in the mail. If this church is important to you, if you align with UU values, and you believe that we should continue providing light and love here in the Mendon-Uxbridge wider community, please be as generous as you are able. You can reply to the call for pledges via the contact form on the website. We need to hear from you this week by Saturday, as the annual meeting is on Sunday. We would appreciate your pledge, and we would also appreciate hearing your thoughts about church on the survey link we sent out. We really want to know what you value about the church, what things you would like to see added or changed. We want to hear your thoughts about the church. So there is a survey link on the email that was sent out, and there are also hard copies of the survey out in the entrance area. But we want to hear from you. This is your church, so please share your voice. You can also give your time to the church. I usually thank people for the gifts of their time, their talent, and their treasure in every service. Sharing your time and talent is a wonderful way to support the church. I think of so many volunteers here that make the church run. I think of the volunteer property committee, the volunteer administrators, the people who film the services, the governing board, the members of the Women's Alliance who donate their time and care at fundraisers and events, and others who give of their time. And sometimes some of you give in multiple ways or serve on multiple committees. Sometimes I stop in at the church during the week, And I find one of the parishioners here all by themselves, taking the raw spots of our sanctuary, repainting them, and making them beautiful again. I truly appreciate all who give of their time and talent, and I speak for the congregation as well. Thank you. Being generous helps others. Last week I talked about the importance of paying attention. Giving someone your focused attention is a great way to be generous. Give them your ears. Give them your eye contact. Put away your phone. Give them your attention. It's a wonderful gift. We all need that. Nothing can replace the gift of your time and attention. Nothing. Did you ever realize that graciously accepting a gift or a compliment is a way to give back to the giver? Do you ever deflect a compliment and say, oh, it was nothing, or mumble that you wished you could have do more or do better? Maybe you think you should be humble. However, not accepting a gift or the appreciation that someone offers us deprives them of the opportunity to feel the joy of giving or the pleasure in affirming another. Even though the gift or compliment is offered to us, it is not all about us. Our failure to receive well can be a failure to give back generously to the one who seeks to give to us. Next time we are tempted to try and deflect a compliment, we can simply say instead, "Thank you. I appreciate your kind words. It gives me joy that you liked the gift, that I am happy that you noticed. I'm so glad that what I did or said was meaningful." Look them in the eye. Really thank them that they're trying to give something to you, and in that way, we can give back to them. This is an ongoing practice for many of us, I think. And also, accepting help from someone gives them the opportunity to be generous. If you're going through a tough place and someone asks what they can do to help, instead of quickly insisting that we don't need help, we can think if we can turn their offer of help into a blessing for them to know themselves as generous givers. And so then maybe receiving their help becomes a blessing for all. And then you can give them your gratitude as the icing on the cake. There are many other ways that we can be generous that don't have anything to do with money. We can be generous in our interactions. For example, when we don't understand why someone did something, we can generously assume best intentions. Assuming best intentions doesn't remove the need to talk with the person about the situation, but we can start from a different place. Instead of assuming the worst, as we seek understanding, we can try to generously assume the best. And we can share our positive energy with people by seeking to uplift and affirm them. If other people feel uplifted and affirmed, they are more likely to go out and uplift and affirm others. And when people see us as being generous, it might inspire them to be generous as well. There are many ways the ripples of generosity can grow. I'd like to close with a poem. "When Giving is All We Have" by Alberto Ruios. One river gives its journey to the next. We give because someone gave to us. We give because nobody gave to us. We give because giving has changed us. We give because giving could have changed us. We have been better for it. We have been wounded by it. Giving has many faces. It is loud and quiet, big though small, diamond in wood nails. Its story is old, the plot worn, and the pages too. But we read this book anyway, over and again. Giving is first and every time, hand to hand, mine to yours, yours to mine. You gave me blue, and I gave you yellow. Together, we are simple green. You gave me what you did not have, and I gave you what I had to give. Together, we made something greater from the difference. Together, we made something greater from the difference. Let us give freely, generously, happily of our time, our talent, our treasure, and our presence. And as gratitude and generosity flow from our hearts and from our hands, may the ripples of generosity just keep getting bigger and bigger. Amen, and blessed be. I have a few announcements this morning. Next week, we are doing a pulpit swap with the UU Society of Grafton and Upton. It's actually a funny term because it's actually a minister swap for the day. So I will be preaching for the Grafton-Upton congregation, and Reverend Daniel will be preaching here. So we're excited to make this change and be more connected with another one of our local congregations, and hope you can all come out or view online and support Daniel preaching here next week. Also, we don't have anyone signed up for coffee hour or for flowers next week. I don't know if Reverend Daniel can stay for coffee hour, but it would be very nice if we had coffee hour and flowers, if one of you would be willing to sign up for next week. Also on that note, I thank Shirley and Linda for providing coffee hour today, and I thank Marcia for providing flowers from her garden. So thank you. Also, as you heard last week, we will be having the Strawberry Festival this year on the second Saturday in June, and hope you can all come out and support that in whatever way works for you. We're very excited. And last but not least, I want to announce the meetings after church next Sunday, after coffee hour. Next Sunday, we will have the congregational meeting, the Uxbridge Society meeting, and the Menden Society meeting. And these will be in person in Goss Hall, and we will also try to have them all on Zoom as well. So the Uxbridge Society meeting will meet at 12 o'clock after coffee hour next week. The Menden Society meeting will meet at 12:15 following the Uxbridge meeting, and the congregational meeting will be at 12:30. So I hope you can all come out for the congregational meeting or the other societies if you're part of those, and we can have a good turnout as some decisions will be made. So we really Need your presence for those. I think that's all my announcements. Is there anyone that has any other announcements? Okay. Well, we'll move into having the time of candles of joy and concern. So I will invite all of you, any of you who have candles you'd like to light in person, to come forward and light your own candle, and then I will light the final candles for any that came in online or any others I know of. So is there anyone who would like to light a candle today?
Good morning. A candle of celebration for life well lived. Sonia Porter passed away last night, and to me it's just so appropriate on Mother's Day. She lived the life that she wanted to. She was ready to go, but she wanted to see her granddaughter from Arizona, a little 2-year-old, right? Well, she saw her daughter. She saw her granddaughter. She saw her other granddaughters. She saw her brothers and sisters. It was all as it should be, at home, in love. But it brings to mind Mother's Day, because Sonia was an earth mama. She was a nurturing. And that's what we all need to celebrate on Mother's Day. And I know Ralph always had issues serving as, what's the sermon on Mother's Day? Because often people have issues with their mothers, or their mothers weren't the ideal mothers, or they didn't have an ideal relationships. But when my mother was passing, or she was, I couldn't be there with her, and I'd try as much as I could. But I found that when I wasn't down in New Jersey, I could spend time with older women in the church or in the community and help them, and then by virtue of that, feeling that someone down there is helping my mother. So it's that's what the church is all about, and it's community and fellowship. So mothers, even though not all women are mothers, maybe half the women are mothers, everybody has a mother. So you might not like her, you might not love her, but you got to respect her.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to light a candle? Well, I'm going to light another candle for Sonia. I visited her this week, I think it was Wednesday, and she expressed appreciation for the flowers from the Women's Alliance last week, and she expressed appreciation for her church community. And so I told her I would light a candle for her on Sunday. And so Peter already shared the news with you, but I'd like to light another candle for Sonia. Some of our hearts may be heavy this morning. Some of our hearts may be light this morning. Some of our hearts may be a little bit of both. I light this final candle for those things that remain unspoken in our hearts and minds. The words to extinguish the chalice come from Reverend Amy Zucker Morgenstern. When we take fire from our chalice, it does not become less, it becomes more. And so as we extinguish our chalice, we take its light and warmth with us, multiplying the power of the light and warmth by all of our lives and sharing it with the world. The postlude today will be Amazing Grace, played on the organ by Matt. Oh, he's already up there. Amazing grace, more abundance. If you think of grace and how sometimes grace can be amazing, and may we be more attuned to all the amazing things of abundance in our lives, even when we don't feel like we have abundance in our lives. May we grow in our awareness of the abundance that we do have. So the benediction, go in gratitude, go in generosity, go in peace until we are together again. And let us say the serenity prayer together, as is the custom here. God grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, the courage to change the things we can, and the wisdom to know the difference.